Hi, everybody. I hope you're well. So, Donald Trump, the US president, has recently done an interview with a journalist from NBC, I believe, or a main media channel. And I didn't see the interview, but I saw that clips were coming up about Duck walking out in the interview, losing his rag. And I thought, let me look into this. But when I was thinking about it, I was channeling through the energy. But I want to take us through a bit of analysis, and then hopefully in the in between, I won't spill the beans on what I was getting or what I would say it was. Now, firstly, I do want to remind us that I mentioned the very beginning of the year, I believe, or March, Feb time, that we're going to see Trump's delivery and wherever he speaks not being as effective, or things around that happening. And we've definitely seen that come to light. Obviously, I don't get views on my videos, so I can put up a couple of videos a day. I can do that target some time, but sometimes it feels like it's falling dead because the views aren't just getting there. But then I have incredible subscribers and members, especially. And I hope in one day that the word gets out there, just because there needs to be truth, there needs to be a voice, and there needs to be empowerment, awareness, light workers, people that are not just also going down the route of rabbit hole of you've got to heal this and that, but also people that are not just flamboyant, being deceptive, being conspiracy theorists just to promote their channel. And maybe that's something wrong of me that I can't do, but I just can't do it. I could not lie and be a conspiracy theorist. But I would like to bring out something on Charlie and Erica Kirk, so look out for that. And it's to leave your emotions in the door. So in this interview, I'll go through some of the wording. It won't be one but word by word. If anything, it's worse. So don't think I'm trying to make it worse for Duck. No. And then I looked at a minute clip. Okay, just a minute. So some of you might say it's not worth that I didn't watch it all, so I have no voice to say. But I'm coming from a professional stance, and then I'm coming from my arena around energy channeling, psychic tapping, but also analysis, right? So remember, disclaimer, this is for entertainment purposes only. It seemed to have all kicked off, from what I understand, is that the journalist asked him for evidence. Now, this was what was said. It's all because she asked him for evidence, he stormed off. But I think there's more to it. When I was looked at that one clip, there's heavy rain going on. And the rain gets louder. He kind of says it's okay. The rain gets louder. And then I watched another 1 minute clip. So it's cut a little bit. But all that was not mentioned in all the ones that are reporting. He seems to have been kind of like it's okay about the rain and stuff, but then it was getting louder, he was getting more agitated. And so I want to go through stuff, and then I want you to decide. But I do want to bring to light, whether you love him or hate him, that there could be stuff that is to watch on this, around paranoia, around his psyche. And when I mean that, not his psychic abilities, maybe psychosis type of tapping in. But I think on this occasion, and this is me already giving you my 2 cents, I don't think he's in a psychosis, right? So this can go two ways. People can use it as anti-duck, and really how I've seen some of the clips, he just walked off. So it can be used politically, all right? And she kind of, it was talking about elections being rigged, and he said the election was rigged. And there's an interruption by the interviewer, and then he interrupts, and then she asks, what's the evidence? Now, when someone's having a bit of a psychotic break, and that can be quite a big energy, a big word, so people think that someone goes into mania, loses it, shouts, rages, but it can be on the lesser scale as well. So when we talk about psychosis or psychotic, a person can't really see the true evidence. What they see is what they've got internally, okay? And sometimes that could be a person, even if they're not, that are trying to be deceptive, intentionally. So these are kind of options here. But the one who's ready for truth of what's happening in the world and around, apart from internally, whether it reflects the same as internally or not, is open to others' opinions, not only themselves. So what is the other person or the world saying versus what I'm saying? Can I see that difference? Or is it only what I'm seeing and saying is internally what I'm actually seeing and saying? So there's that outer world not connecting. Then there's the deception side that some might say, you know, there's the lying of just trying to put out a message that the election is rigged, and so it's a lie, so there's no evidence that can be proved. There's also that they're just saying things that they genuinely believe those things without being psychotic, of course, but then there's paranoia maybe. There's this energy as well of they could be manipulative, or it could be true. Duck seems to not be able to vocalize or give the evidence on what area or the evidence, okay? For me, I believe that he knows in what arena this is, where he believes it's rigged. And there's multiple things in that pot, like the media themselves, okay? So that's one thing. Secondly, there's some things that it's difficult for him to say and vocalize without it looking too much like I'm victim. I'm giving you my 2 cents here, and we're going to go even further. So whether you're a duck supporter or not, this is awareness of what elements we can take into consideration. Like I was going to do the Henry Novak, what happened in the UK, because my video would have been a target of the politicians that are not getting it. That even what they said in response just shows you that they're not getting it, and they're not here for the people. Because to me that brought up multiple issues like public safety, public services. Yet I've not heard one MP or one person vocalize certain stuff. and I am not saying any more on that. But because it's a highly sensitive case, I chose not to cover that. So I think he can't quite say what area the truth is. So he indicates there is some play somewhere, not necessarily directly what he's saying, with evidence, because he can't quite say and vocalize where the evidence. Now, don't forget, he's got indication of a lot of stuff that happens behind the curtain as well, and he will be a bit of part of that as a political leader. So he has to be careful. And this is where I said, when he's out of presidency, if he doesn't go for the second term, if he doesn't win, whatever, right? At one stage, he's going to be out of it. He's going to feel so liberated. He doesn't quite understand yet, but he's getting there with the frustration, because he's going to be able to speak, knowing everything or a lot of stuff. I mentioned his journey in previous videos. So evidence is asking for evidence is a good question, right? But also, maybe he doesn't like to be challenged, as if, you're asking for evidence, and she's not presenting very well, to be honest with you. There's a bit of talking over each other, talking when he's talking, interrupting. Well, that might be because he's also frustrated because he's placed in a position of challenge, and she is not just taking his word. And on top of that, he could be feeling like she knows this, but she's pretending she doesn't. And they're all... See, okay, I'll tell you my 2 cents. Duck does not like the media. He doesn't feel they have integrity. They lie. There's a lot of propaganda. They could be out for him. They are out for him. So I wonder if some of that also translate in paranoia. But what he's also is in his psyche is correct about the media, and we know that. So he hasn't got the time of day to listen to someone that he believes is... It could be he didn't like being challenged. His word doesn't just go down and yes. But also that this person's from the mainstream media and they know how the game works. So you're sat there, even if he was being deceptive to say that, he knows that she's playing a role as well, even though she's pretending she's trying to seek justice and the answer and the evidence, if that makes sense. So people can use such statements to a political advantage when they say it was rigged. There could be the psychotic beliefs, reasons, and there could be deception, and there could be manipulation. Like, I think he said something about stupid Biden transcripts or something like that. Something about California, and she says the Republicans are doing well. And then there's a restating of the statement or the claim of the elections being rigged, but not giving evidence. And seems to say the vote count is taking a very long time, which some might say that's his answer to the evidence, but is it evidence? So some people might not get, he is trying to put that message out there. They might think he's trying to put that message out there without truth, understanding, but to say this is happening. Is he actually believing it though? Or is it a deception? Or is he correct? So it's internal and external meeting and he's correct. And it gets a bit tense. The rain gets harder. It's very frustrating to her. And then he goes in for it. He's like, the election's rigged, you're rigged, the press is rigged. And if it's not you, then you're stupid as well. Then he says, okay, you're stupid. And she says, I'm not. At one of his statements, which is silly. And he says, you know, you're stupid, you play into the hands, you know it's rigged. This is where I say, because I've pulled up a bit of the wording, that he can't, he's frustrated with her playing this role. And he knows even the mass media put out propaganda and false narratives, even if she doesn't know the thing is rigged. And he says something about 94% bad press, something like that. This sentence not complete, I don't think. So is he paranoid that everyone's out to get him? And if he is, that is concerning, to be in the presidency, leading actually the most powerful president on the globe. Apart from, I'm not sure if BB would be, okay, because BB sits in the back when it comes to America, but there is some he does steer duck. So let's pull some cards. Is there some paranoia around Duck? And I won't be surprised if there is around the media, okay? But is there paranoia that's beyond, like, justified with Duck? You know what? I get yes. But it's in balance at the moment. It's not down this total psychotic kind of side. It's around media, and it's also around the presentation of the assassin attempts that have been happening, okay? And mainly internal media, okay, as opposed to external media, global media talking about him. It's more about the USA channels, television, that he feels these things are causing him the paranoia, and it might be justified. Okay, so it seems like that is in check. So it's getting tense, okay, around this evidence, or is it a challenge? And some people, you know, if we assess this without what I've given you my 2 cents, does that mean that he treats his staff and administration in a way that it's what I say and that's it, you can't challenge me? And that's not great, because you want to be challenged, you want others' ideas in there as well. If this is caused because of her challenging him for evidence. Now, I've just given you my 2 cents on this, and I will wrap up with that again. And we pulled cards as well. He calls the end, And she says, I've traveled all the way from Wisconsin. And I find that kind of like, and I'm glad he responded and said, I stood an hour in the rain with you, because she should feel, I'm not saying this in a godlike manner, but lucky, she's she's a journalist that got to sit with the US president and arguably the most powerful president, BB possibly. But so I felt that that was, that was not the right thing to say. Now he did keep going through this interview, obviously, and I feel like he was getting more and more agitated. He was getting more and more agitated. Obviously, he is 80 years old, regardless. I don't think he sleeps much. I'm not saying that he was irritated, and this is the reason, but I'm saying that this interview would have been, what, at least an hour, and his day would have been full. So, we should remember that as well. But I think the rain and the whole thing was building tension, and then the way this was going down. Now, without me looking at that one clip and that other clip, from seeing thumbnails and little things on YouTube, it sounded like there was nothing to aggravate him from her or from like the weather, the rain, the circumstances, the environment. But I totally saw that. Now, he could have harbored resentment. Okay, some could say he's got a bullying style, but I think it's the press. It's her playing, she's part of that press, and she's playing a role where she's challenged him with evidence, and yet he believes she knows. And she knows, if not about the elections being rigged, how media are. And she's part of it. And also, I don't know how the interview went, but I wonder if she came across as intellectual or intellectually stimulating with her questions, because her answers to, like, I came from Wisconsin or I am not this, to me, may have also, I don't have time for press and people that just don't know the truth, don't want to see the truth, know the truth, pretending they don't see the truth, are following a rigid mass media way they should talk, what they can say, what they can't say. He didn't say that, but that is truth. A lot of, you might hear of people that are now on YouTube that say, I got invited to this TV channel, but they won't let me actually go on in the end because they wanted me to say this and I wanted to say that. And it could be about a crime case, it could be about anything. So, yeah. So, he genuinely believes what he's saying. I don't believe he's being manipulative. He genuinely believes what he's saying. And so there could be that element of paranoia. And yes, given the assassin attempts, there could be a lot of people out to get him, especially right now with everything going on as well. And so his paranoia sometimes, maybe it gets elevated, or maybe in certain environments and people that are deceiving and lying know that they're deceiving and lying, by the way. So I think the element of paranoia needs to be watched, maybe. But I don't think it's being portrayed in a way it actually is. Because when I tap into his energy, that's what I get. getting more and more angry, more and more agitated. The element of who he's meeting, etc. The rain, the noise. He's talking, she's interrupting, they're talking over each other at one stage. Obviously, the rest of the interview could be very different, but I wanted to give us these elements to look at psychologically, but also then give you my 2 cents. And I think Duck has always not been someone that's needed to say or be asked to provide evidence. So that could be something that also startled him in a way, like maybe he just says what he has and he can run with what he wants to say without usually being challenged and having to provide evidence. So that might have taken him back a little bit, had his back up. And I wonder, I just want to ask, does she know this is going to agitate him? Obviously, she might not have prepared the questions. A lot of these don't. So does she know that this is going to agitate him? Let's ask. One more, please. Told to look at this one. Six of Pentacles. So it should have been more balanced, harmonious, give and take. The Wheel of Fortune, yes. It's going to trigger him from the current energy he's in into a different energy. Hermit as well, double confirmation, and the Ten of Swords. So I do think that she knew it was going to trigger him, send him in a different energy than he was in. Okay, from that to a more Ten of Swords, and it looks like there's some intentionality there, but I don't think she's smart enough to do that. And I wonder if the whoever creates the script for the questions, if they had some intentionality. So I don't think the press and media is an area he likes, okay, and I think that had a bit of information. I believe what he says. I don't think he usually get asked for evidence, and so I don't think it's him angry walking out to avoid answering to evidence. I think it was a very tricky question, although Duck can communicate, so he could have been avoiding to a certain extent, and he could have made statements around the election being rigged without having solid evidence. But do you know when you just know something and there are signs all over the place that things are just not right? Now, I think the Democrats would say that as well, that the election's been rigged. I think a lot of countries would. So that's my 2 cents on that, and I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it gave us food for thought on multiple things that we could have considered in this. If you did, take care, stay blessed, and bye for now.